safari, oh, etc. This pen was sent to me by Endless Pens, and as I explained in a previous video on the Pelikan M200 Pastel, this package took me 13 months. Well, not me, it took 13 months to reach me. It's nobody's fault, it's definitely not Endless Pen's fault, but there was a pandemic going on, so things got delayed, and this one in particular got a little screwed up. It's okay, it reached me all the same, okay? What are we talking about? Well, this is, as we say in Dutch, mustard after the meal, because this is a special edition pen for 2020. It's now, when I'm recording this, July 2021. It's going to be a while before the video goes up, so, but anyway. And now this special edition is sold out in most places. So that's what I mean by mustard after the meal. It's, what would you say in English? Too little, too late. Now, tough luck, because I'm going to review it anyway, because I live on the edge. What can I tell you about this pen? Well, we're going to go over the parts of the pen. I will do a writing sample and I'll tell you what I like and what I dislike, but in a nutshell, special edition, candy series. There also was a purple, but it wasn't called purple, was it? No, violet, and there was an aquamarine finish. And that's the trio of candy pens that Lamy made. I think they are all quite cute. I must say I really do like this one, the mango finish. I really like the matching clip, it's quite fun. Beyond that, it's a safari. I've reviewed a lot of safaris, but you may not have seen all those reviews, so I'm just going to go over all the aspects again. Okay? That's what I'll do first. I'll talk about the parts of the pen, do a writing sample, tell you what I like and dislike, and first of all, a very kind thank you to Endless Pens for sending me the pen. I appreciate it. It took 13 months. It wasn't your fault. I do appreciate it. Let's get started. Okay, das Lamy Safari. Let's have a look at the Safari, or as it is commonly known, the Safari. I mean, admittedly, it's only known as that by me, but I want to start this movement where people start to believe that this pen's name is pronounced as Safari. Anyway, it comes in this box, which even has a name starting with Z, as many of the Lamy accessories do. Anyway, it's a box. It has these sort of grooves in it, and there is this piece which the pen then clips onto, and then it's just slid in there comfortably, etc. All that stuff. So that's the box, nice and simple, and you can just recycle it, which I love. Then we have the actual pen. It's right here. I'm going to zoom in so I can give you a bit of a better view of this pen. And here we have some comparison models. I mean, in itself, the Safari is so iconic, I think it's a good size comparison, but here we have it right next to a Pilot Metropolitan. Two nice pens, so, and in this case, even the color scheme matches. Whoa, I know. Okay, let's continue. Parts of the pen. On top we have this plus sign, and this plus sign is relevant because that indicates it is a fountain pen. Then there is a minus sign, and there is just a dot, and one is for the ballpoint and one for the mechanical pencil, or is it rollerball and ballpoint? I forget, because all those other instruments are the instruments of the devil. Only fountain pens truly matter. You heard it here first. So we have that, then we have the clip. The clip is the same mango color as the rest of the pen. It is metal, as always with the Safari. It's nice, it's tight, it works. Ooh, it's slippery, tight and slippery, and yet it works quite well. Now here we have this little groove, which I have always enjoyed. I think it just, I don't know, it just adds just a little bit of visual appeal. We go down, here we have an injection molding line, which I'll come back to, but I think that's a little bit of a shame. It just looks a little cheap to me. Here we have an ink window. If you use cartridges or a converter, there are no other options. It takes, of course, I'm just checking because I always forget the name. That's the Z10 cartridges, or Z10 if you prefer, and the Z28 converter, or Z28 if you prefer. And that's pretty much all there is to it. So, I've already talked about a lot of other things, right? There was an aquamarine brother, and there's a violet brother, or maybe sister, who knows? But there are other pens in this specific candy series. And what else was I going to say? Oh, the nibs, of course. You have a wide range available. Extra fine, fine, medium, broad. Pretty affordable, and you can exchange them. Quick tip, if you have trouble getting this nib out, take a little bit of Scotch tape, put it on there, and then it just slides off easily. I didn't invent that. I got it somewhere else. I completely forget because I've been doing that for years. Works like a charm. Makes your life a lot easier. Right, mine's blown. Let's continue. So we have the ink window, we have the barrel with the Lamy logo on it, and on the other side there is nothing. Here at the bottom it says Germany, and it has holes, right, which are the holes that if your kid just swallows this, that it can still breathe, which is a comfort to many parents. Not all, but many. And here we have this flat facet on both sides of the barrel, which I think is quite nice because that means that the pen doesn't roll. Of course, once capped, it doesn't work because that part of the pen doesn't actually touch your desk. But when uncapped, it's nice if you want to put it down quickly. Just don't cap it. Then we have the incredibly divisive section with these faceted cutouts, or facet cutouts, or whatever. Let's go with faceted cutouts, where your index finger and thumb should comfortably sit. In my case, that is actually true, but in the case of many, that is not true. Some people hate this because it forces you to hold the pen a certain way, and they simply can't hold the pen that way. This is not a value judgment. I'm just saying some people really struggle with this, right? And that's why the Safari is not for everyone. It's a nice size pen. I mean, here we have a Pelikan M200. Look at the size of that, right? The Safari really is not that small, which I've always appreciated about it. And it's a bit of a school pen for kids, you know, smaller hands, bigger pens, who knows, it seems to work. So I really enjoy this. I find it comfortable, but again, whole masses of people don't. Now we have the nib, easily interchangeable, as I said. It says Lamy and F. I don't know if you can really read that, but it says Lamy and F, and it has the flat feed that they use without fins or without a comb, as we say. And by the way, to exchange the nib, you don't have to put the feed out. If ever you take the feed out, be very careful how to put it in, because there's a groove and a ridge, and if you don't match those up, it goes in partially, but then you'll never get it out. It's almost impossible to pull it out after that, so be careful. Okay, the pen opens up, and here we happen to have the converter that was, so this is the Z28, in North America known as the Z28, which was kindly supplied to me by Endless Pens. It has these little studs on them which slip exactly into that part of the section, which means that the converter doesn't come out easily. You saw I was actually struggling a bit with pulling that out, so I think that makes for a very secure and safe Republic. Now this was a Revenge of the Sith reference for continued stability, and anyway, the Emperor's speech, doesn't matter. Let's do a bit of a writing sample. Now I have loaded up this pen with Mango, the Mango ink that was a tie-in to the pens. I like to use Safari's unposted personally. Let's see what we can do. The camera typically picks up the sound of a nib quite badly. In this case, it's not an exaggeration. It is incredibly scratchy. Now, I'll come back to that in likes and dislikes. But I mean, you can just see, right, that it's collecting paper fiber. That's that thick stuff over the jumps. Dog, brackets, lazy. It's very, very, very scratchy, and I mean, it doesn't skip really. I'll give it that. But can you see on the top of the nib? Can you see that that paper residue? It's just being scraped off. This is not that common in my mind. I know that there are some issues with Lamy fine nibs, some being finer, some being broader. I mean, for some brands this would be a medium nib for sure, and it's quite a light ink too, where the darker ink might be look even more pronounced. But this is an incredibly scratchy nib. So again, I'll come back to that. Wetness, pretty bone dry. Line variation, not a flex nib, but given the price of this, I don't mind pushing it a little bit. Just be very careful if you do it, because you can spring it. This was me not using a proper angle, so we have to forgive that, but still, yeah, it's something. Let's do a bit of reverse writing. Not really possible. I'm scraping some nice cuneiform in the page, but there's almost no ink coming out. So I think making this nib a little wetter might already resolve a bit of the problem. I think it's just very dry. There don't seem to be any issues with tine alignment. I think it just needs a good polish. Anyway, we'll talk about that right now. What do I like, what do I not like about the Lamy Safari? Ja, es ist ein Safari, was kann man sagen? Es ist Safari, wir kennen die Safari. Anyway, it's a Safari pen. And many of us know the Safari. It's very ubiquitous. Walk into any office supply store in Germany and you will find them. Many office supply stores in the Netherlands, you'll find them. So for me, as a Euro boy, it's a very, very well-known model. Now the Safari, I think, is an interesting pen because of two reasons. One is it's very collectible. People have massive collections of Safaris because they launch in all colors of the rainbow pretty much, and they're fun to collect, and also they're quite affordable. Now some of the collector pieces are more expensive, but that's why they're collector pieces. A lot of these pens really are quite affordable, and I think that is very nice. The other thing I think that makes a Safari stand out is that it divides the world into two. There are those people who love a Safari and those people who hate it, and the people who hate it simply can't use it. And that's because of those cutout facets on the section. Some people just simply cannot hold the pen in the way it was meant to be held, and then they can't write with it, right? It's a very specific angle, and if that's not your angle of holding a fountain pen, also I suppose for that matter a rollerball, but a rollerball is typically a bit more forgiving, and yet it still has those cutouts, so it doesn't really matter. Calm down, okay? So, sorry. That's tough. It really divides people. I've been one of the people who can use a Safari. So there is that. I don't know if I need a whole lot of Safaris in my life, but it's a nice pen. But you're not here to listen to me waxing poetically, so let me give you my likes and dislikes. I like the color. That sounds a bit silly, but I really do. I think they really have selected a color that's very appropriately named. Maybe they named it after they selected the color, but this is the color of mango. It's not fully orange, it's not fully yellow, it's something in between. And I think that's really quite interesting. So there is that. I really love the matching clip, because sometimes with Safaris you get a pen in a certain color, but then the clip is black, for example, or the clip is some other color. Here I really like that a matching color was picked because I think it works very well. It gives a very unified look, makes the pen look, it's unified look for the pen. Yeah, I was right. Haven't had a lot of caffeine yet. I like that. To me this works. It's a happy pen. I look at this and it evokes to me the feeling of summer. And that I think is, I'm not trying to exaggerate, I find that quite impressive for a Safari, a pen under $30 that it immediately gives me the feeling of, yeah, summer, happiness, sweet fruits, etc. That's quite nice. I've always liked the ink window. It's really neat that whether you use cartridges or converter, you can see how much ink you have left. In this case, it is the actual Safari ink, which is actually a completely translucent ink. You can't really see that very well, I think, here, because the light's coming from that direction, so I can't really show you that well. In any case, I like that. You see how much ink you have left. It's an affordable pen. I mean, the price at Endless Pens was $25.99. I know you can also buy a $5 pen from China, but that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about a Lamy Safari. It's a pretty affordable pen. And I think that affordability is what makes the pen so much fun, makes them relatively easily collectible. I mean, you can collect LB6s and they're $3,500 a piece. I mean, you know what I mean? This, I think, is a very nice model, a timeless model. It's been changed a little bit over the years, but relatively little, because it was a pretty good design to begin with, and I think that is really neat and nice. Things I don't like about it so much. There really only is, I would say, one thing. I can mention two things. One thing that is really subjective and one thing that is really objective, I think. One objective thing that I didn't like is that this one has an injection molding line there, which I think looks, I don't know, it looks a little cheap to me. The other thing is that this nib is dreadful. I hate this nib so much. It's incredibly scratchy. It's a fine nib, but I mean, yes, a fine nib has a bit more feedback than a broader nib, but this is not a bit of feedback, this is scratch. It's an unpleasant scratching across the page as you use it. Now, the good news is twofold. One, it's pretty easy to fix scratchiness. There doesn't seem to be any time misalignment. I think it's maybe just the polishing job that they did. And you know, we're men. We love to polish our nibs, so you can always just take a little bit of micro mesh and just quickly do the things to smooth it out. But if that's too much for you, you don't want to try that, you find that scary, you can buy a replacement nib. Now, I would not be surprised if you had purchased this, you would contact Endless Pens, they might exchange something for you. But even if you purchase a nib, the Lamy nibs are not that expensive, especially the steel nibs. They're really quite affordable, so you can always do that. Now, of course, first contact the company and then see what they do. But in this case, I think this is just a specific instance where Lamy dropped the ball on the polishing of the nib tipping a bit. And the result is a scratchy nib. And as I said, that can be fixed, either by you, by buying another nib, by getting a replacement, whatever. It's one instance. I have also used Lamy fine nibs that were much smoother, so I'm pretty sure this is just one occasion, and it can happen. And then you have to deal with that in the way that you deem best. Okay, I hope this was useful. A very kind thank you to Endless Pens. Thank you for sending me the pen, I appreciate it. I will gladly see you later. Bye.